Hello, everybody. It's Donna Cravata, and we are back for another Real 50 Over 50 interview. And today we have Debbie Lynn Grace. She's an author, an international speaker, and a transformational leader with 30 years of marketing and business growth expertise. She's been published and quoted in over 300 newspapers, magazines, and online publications, and she is a world on worldwide business growth and personal development. She's also the publisher of Sensitive Living magazine. After rising to VP of Marketing at a $4.5 billion financial institution, Debbie knew corporate America wasn't her true calling. In 1994, she courageously stepped into entrepreneurship. And guided by her sister Lisa and a deeper purpose, she learned a form of energy work called flow, alignment, and connection. When she suddenly lost her sister in 2005, sorry, Debbie fully committed to merging her professional expertise with her spiritual calling. Today, Debbie helps influential people, especially highly sensitive individuals, find their unique path to success, touching hundreds and thousands of lives globally through her speaking, interviews, books, and programs. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Donna.
So let's talk a bit about this energy and how it impacts your life, your business, your body, everything around you.
Well, everything is energy, right? So this is not going
Hmm.
to be a physics. This is not going to be a physics conversation. When I started learning energy work in 1994 because my older sister was an energy worker, Lisa, and I was going through a divorce. I mean, it was not long into starting my business that I went through a divorce. And in my, tears and falling apart and turning to my older sister and said, I asked her the magic words, will I ever be happy again? And she said, yes. And I said, what should I do? And she said something that changed the trajectory of my life. And she said, it's time for you to learn what I do. And she wanted me to learn the form of energy work that she knew, which was flow, alignment, and connection. And it just to talk about energy in just real simple terms, the flow, alignment, and connection is just a form of energy work where you can identify where there's an energy block in a person or even in a situation or in a business and be able to facilitate the flow so the energy block dissolves. And so, in a person, an energy block always shows up as a fear, right? It shows up as stress, doubt, worry, all those thoughts in your head. And when I did that, this is over 30 years ago that I learned this energy work. It changed me. It changed me, and I didn't know what it would do. Is that it would activate this download guided intuition that I didn't know, this gift of intuition. And so as I started to build my marketing consulting business, I would get clients who'd sit across from me and I'd ask them the standard questions of, what challenges are you facing in your business and what are your marketing challenges? And all of a sudden I'd hear this voice in my head that would start to talk to me and give me very specific information about that person that had nothing to do with marketing or their business. Say, like, ask that person what happened to them when they were 5 because they now have a fear of this, so this is affecting their business. And I would just start to get these downloads. Now, I didn't learn how to do that. It just happened.
It just happened.
And over the years, I have not only trust that, but I don't do flow, alignment, and connection anymore. What I do is I do energy work while I'm talking. So it opens up the energy flow so that you move into a higher vibration. And in terms of energy, everybody operates their life in a range, a vibrational range. And every day you go up and down in that range. And you know what your upper limit of your vibrational range is when you start to feel in flow and things start to happen, like things like open up and you're happier, right? That's your upper limit. And your lower limit is when you just plummet, right? All of a sudden, nothing's working. You're super frustrated. You just keep repeating the same patterns over and over again. The challenge is when you have this range and you have a lower limit that will trigger all of your fears don't get triggered unless you're in a lower vibrational range. When you're up here, right, when you're feeling really great, you're not hearing the fear-based voices in your head. The work I do takes people beyond this upper limit. So when I'm working with entrepreneurs or influential leaders or people that transformation businesses, or even somebody that's a corporate professional, they're coming to me so that I shift their vibrational range up, so that their worst day used to be like is a great day. And that's when you start. So the reason why everything is energy is you want to know where you're at. And if you've got a lot of energy blocks, it's because your vibration is low, and that's where you're hanging out in your life.
So, what are some of the strategies that you use to shift up?
Well, I mean, the thing is that a lot of people use tools to get them up here that they think are going to really shift up your vibration. So I want to be really clear on there's like two different kinds of tools that people use. One tool would be a centering tool. A centering tool would be meditation, would be yoga. We might even do some sort of grounding breathing. So that's a centering, unless it's a grounding technique. What it's doing is it's shifting your vibration up. If you consider yourself in an elevator, and when you're wanting to, your soul space is up on the 50th floor, but you're hanging out, living your life from the 10th to the 15th floor. So what like a meditation will do is will move you up a couple of floors in the elevator. My work is an activation. An activation moves you 10 floors. And when you move 10 floors, you literally, your entire thinking in your head shifts, because at a higher vibration, you have access to more space. So I do very specific activations, but you can't do an activation first unless you do 2 steps. And so I can share those steps with you, because I think they literally change your day-to-day living, just those first 2 steps. And that's not even an activation to move you up, but it will help everything in your day. So the first one is, it's like a part A and part B. The part A is clearing your energy. And you know how much especially in today's world, right? You are bombarded every day by all the emails that you're opening up have an energy to them. They all are energy, and those words are affecting your vibration and moving your elevator either up or down. And in most cases today, they're down, right? You're looking on social media, which is giving you the news, and you don't even know if that news is really true or not. But our news, and now this is your expertise, right? Is fear-based.
Yeah.
Right? Fear is what sells news, what gets eyeballs, what catches people's attention. So you're feeding your brain low vibration thinking day after day after day. So how is that going to keep your elevator up? Not when you're feeding it low vibration, energy. So the first thing you want to do is clear your energy. And this is a simple technique, but clearing your energy is just brushing off your body. Now you think, okay, well, this is like, right? Like you're brushing off your body. You're taking one hand, brushing it down your arm, the other hand, and brushing down your front, brushing down your legs. What you're doing energetically is you're regrounding your body, and you're saying to your body, this is mine. I'm touching my arm. This is my arm. This is not my arm. This is not my energy. So that's what clearing your energy is. It's a simple technique, but you don't want to hang out all day after you just read your social feed with everybody's energy, and then, God forbid, take that to bed with you. So I clear my energy. Well, first of all, anytime I have a client, after a client call, I clear my energy because they're sharing their stuff with me, right? And I'm working with them to facilitate that. But I'm clearing my energy afterwards. So part B of the first step is grounding. And so a lot of people don't really understand what grounding is. Grounding is moving your energy in your body. Believe it or not, I know this is like counterintuitive. I'm saying raise your vibration up. Okay. Raise your vibration up, but move your energy down, right? Sounds kind of crazy, right? The more you move your energy down, the more you open up the flow from the neck down. Because when you're in a low vibration, all the energy in your body moves up, and you block it. So if you're prone to headaches, migraines, neck aches, shoulder aches, back aches, you find your shoulders up here by the end of the day, it means you've cut off all the flow from the neck down. Well, that means that impacts your level of receiving. It means you have to work twice as hard to get a result. And it means your capacity to receive decreases substantially. So the first step is part A is clearing, part B is grounding, and you can do that through your breath. But you want to put your awareness so your energy keeps moving down your body until your chest feels open and expansive. So that's the first thing. The second step is understanding your energy field. And your energy field on a day-to-day basis, kind of also like your vibration, kind of goes in and out. But your energy field is something that is, again, it's it's counter-logical. Okay, is that even a word? It is counterintuitive, I guess would be the best word, right? I'll make it a word, counter-logical, right? It's not logical. So when somebody feels unsafe emotionally, right? They feel like, oh, I don't want all this stuff coming at me, or this is really upsetting, or what's that person saying is upsetting. They sort of instinctively pull in their energy field as if it's a security blanket, which is the exact opposite of what you should be doing. And the reason is that I want you to think to yourself, if you had a small glass, okay, so it has an opening like this, and the glass is this tall, how much water can you put in, right? You can only put in before it overflows, you can only put in a certain amount of water. What if you had a bucket? Couldn't you? So if you thought about that glass of water as your prosperity, and that's all you get, just that glass of water, well, when your energy field's pulled in, the more your energy field's been, the smaller your glass gets. So the less you can receive. So imagine if your energy field is all the way expanded out, now it's not a bucket anymore. Now it's a swimming pool, and we go from a swimming pool to a lake, and we go from a lake to an ocean as your ability to receive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the work I do first is always those first two steps is knowing how to expand your energy field and knowing how to do, clear your energy and ground, expand your energy field. That sets the space for you to move up your elevator. Now you've moved up about 5 floors. Well, you know what? When you moved up 5 floors, that's a difference between you generating a $500 client and a $5,000 client. You understand, the higher your vibration, the more ability and the more your expanded energy and grounded you are, the greater exponentially you have to increase the prosperity coming in.
Now, how is this, is there any difference working with people who are highly sensitive?
There is a definite distinction, because highly sensitive people without the right tools feel unprotected 100% of the time, because you don't have a shock absorber system. Okay, so somebody that's highly, it has to do with the wiring in your brain, the part that has to do with how you regulate out external stimuli coming in. A highly sensitive person doesn't have that regulation. It's wide open. So there's no shock absorber system to take in that external stimuli and be a buffer. That's the distinction. Okay. So it's not a mental thing. It's not even an energetic thing. It's an actual, your 5 senses are always out there. Well, if they're always out there with no buffer, it's not only overstimulating, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so a highly sensitive person, their threshold of overwhelm is a lot lower. And their wanting to shut down is a lot lower unless you use tools. And I spent years teaching, highly sensitive people, because it doesn't have to be that way. I can't teach somebody how to change the wiring in their brain, but I can teach them to have tools so that there is a buffer system. And one of them is your energy field. And the other one is those grounding. Those first two are essential to a highly sensitive person to be protected. So it is a distinction, because highly sensitive people, there's, I'm sure you know this, but with every gift there's 2 sides to the gift. There's the challenge of the gift, and then there's the positive of the gift. So highly sensitive people walk around with a challenge and a gift, the positive of it, every day. And they can't access and activate the serious gift of it that makes them powerful unless they always take care of the challenging side, making sure that you're protected, making sure that you're in flow, make sure you're operating in a higher vibration. So
Yeah,
when you do
it sounds
that,
like they need to take care of their nervous system
they
in
have to
order to
take care of their
operate.
nervous system. And when they do that, they get access. I couldn't do my work if I wasn't highly sensitive. I
Mhm,
could not tune in to people at the multi levels that I'm tracking when I'm working with somebody. I'm not a normal, I'm not a coach. I'm not sitting there thinking, okay, let me give you some techniques.
mhm,
When I'm channeling when I'm working with my clients, because I'm hearing what their soul is telling me. I'm tracking the energy of where their words are, where their energy field is at. They don't know where it is. I do. I'm tracking what's going on in their body. I'm tracking what's behind, and I'm being shown what's going on at a soul level, and even what's going on in their brain. Sometimes they don't even have to tell me, and I know what's happening. So those are just the levels I can talk about verbally.
mhm.
That's so instinctual to me. There's things I'm tracking that I don't have words for. But what I do know is that what lands for me is there it is. There's where the block is, and there's where the door opening is, and where we can open up the flow. And then, I give them the tool, or we just do it right there. I do the work with them, and in the conversation, I'm a very activating person. So when I'm working with somebody, the energy starts to move just by having the conversation. There's a joke between me and my younger sister that my older sister was so activating that, if you were having a problem, and, I'd call up Lisa, and she'd say hello, and I would just burst into tears. And my younger sister would do the same thing, because her energy was so activating that the energy started to move, like the
Yeah.
emotions started to come and the energy started to move. I apparently have that same gift. Now, you know, my clients don't immediately burst into tears when they work with me, but there's a pretty good chance that they're going to cry at some point during that
Mhm.
session, because that means the energy is moving. And that is honestly the easiest way for a significant energy block that's internal to move, is through tears. That's actually a good sign that energy is moving. So I encourage people to have a box of Kleenex. That's always a good sign.
So if there was one thing that you can just have everybody know about, how energy works and how they can manage their energy fields, their vibrations, what would be that one thing that you would want them to know?
Well, when we're having a conversation about, remember, I want to make sure I'm clear on the semantics. I'm talking about vibrations, higher vibration, lower vibration. And when I talk about managing your energy, it means where's the flow. So,
Mhm,
so it's two distinctly different things. Managing your energy in your body, you always want to have maximum flow. But there's a core thing around my work. And the core of my work is to move in a vibration that you're now on your soul path. You're operating the way you were authentically wired to operate. And our world operates out of alignment because it's fear-based. So if there was one thing that the core of my work it's to move you into a vibration so you're activating power that you don't have access to when you're operating in a low vibration. And if
mhm.
there was one message I were ever to tell people, it's that when you start to hear those low vibration thoughts in your head, whatever they are, it's the inner critic, it's the fear, it's the doubter, it's the voice that's telling you you're not worthy, you're not lovable, it's the voice that's saying you're going to fail, it's the voice of guilt, the voice of shame. Fear takes on many disguises, like many, many disguises.
Mm,
Just understand that, first of all, that's like feeding your brain poison. Day after day, when you're listening, you're literally feeding your brain poison. And if you want to feed your brain nourishment, it's not just about affirmations, because lowest vibration, your brain will kick out those affirmations as not true, because your fears don't believe that's
yeah.
true. Up here in this vibration, you have a completely different set of belief systems. So you can't like try and shift your brain without shifting your vibration. But the purpose of my work to move up into these higher vibrations is not just to have empowering thoughts, because that's the result of the work, is you have empowering thoughts in your head. But the more important thing is the lower vibrations. I want you to think to yourself, the lower you go, the more you're hiding your power. And the lower you go, the more powerless you feel. Right? You feel like you have no choice. You feel like you're a victim. You feel like everything's going wrong. You feel like you're frustrated. Like, when are you going to get a break? All of that, you're not accessing your power. So if I were to walk away with one clear-cut message, is you were wired to be incredibly powerful. And that's actually the purpose of your life. The purpose of your life is to discover how powerful you are internally, and to use that power for the greater good. That's the purpose of every human being on the planet. It is absolutely not the purpose of most people, a large percentage of people walking on. Certainly not the people you talk to, Donna. I mean, clearly you're attracting women who are using their power for the greater good in whatever form they're doing. So they're consciously choosing to activate that power within. Right?
And they are, and they have not lived their entire life that way.
Right. So,
You
can do it through the school of hard knocks and just have life keep happening to you and crap keep happening to you. Or you can choose to change the trajectory of your life and go into that quantum field, which is where I'm operating. And it's where you operate when you're on a soul level. You're now operating in a field of infinite possibilities, but you cannot access that unless you're in the vibration to access it. Who is it that said, trying to solve a problem from the same brain that created it?
That created it. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that Einstein? I'm not sure who said that.
Yeah, I don't know who said it, but
I don't want to plagiarize, but it wasn't me that said that, but it's actually truth, right? Which is why trying to do affirmations where you're still operating in the low vibration where your fears are is insanity, because it's going to just kick it out and say, that's not true. So
are there any patterns or personalities that you see with the people that you work with, where there are similarities, or maybe life events, or like what primes somebody so they're ready to do this work?
That's a great question. I would say that there's a lot of different reasons that people decide to pay attention to their spiritual path, right? The minute you're in a conversation about your purpose, wanting to know your purpose, wanting to do purpose-filled work, right? And that's who you're interviewing women, right, who are doing purpose-filled work, right? The minute when we all fall on that path by accident, or we knew from a child we were meant to do it, or it's like a very different way. So there's no real pattern. I got my calling from a channel download. I was creating a business growth for entrepreneurs, in marketing, because my background, my expertise is direct response marketing. I'm a direct response marketing expert. And I was using my gift of intuition to help people, because once they got into alignment, I showed them how to put their business into alignment.
Yeah.
But one day a voice came down and said, go to your computer, turn it on. And I'm typing a message that says, you came here to show people how to align with their soul and how to align with the universe, just like you're showing them how to align their business. And I'm like, wait, what? So my path wasn't the same. But what I'm saying is that what the pattern is, when people get to a point where they're like, I can't do this anymore. I know there's more within me. There's more within me, and my life sucks, or I'm stuck, or I'm stalled, or why can I have success in this area of my life, but this area is also important over here, and I just cannot get any traction, and I can't figure out why. Or when somebody is feeling that they know that they're being called to something bigger, but they're operating from such a small space currently. Those are all different, some classic signs that somebody usually comes to me, because when I'm working at an energetic level, it makes life a lot easier. I don't do mindset work. I bypass straight after the mindset. I go straight to the vibration, and when your vibration changes, your mindset changes. It's a lot easier. So that way
Yeah,
you don't get stuck in your own way. I help people get out of their own way, and that my process bypasses everything.
I love that. When your vibration changes, your mindset changes.
Yeah,
That's
instantly.
powerful.
Instantly.
Yeah. Like one of the patterns that I have seen with the women that I've been interviewing, and I think you're 115th interview,
It's a
is
lot of good that's a lot of good karma coming in your direction.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Um, um, a lot of their experience when they started to embrace a different way of living, a different way of working, is they started to remember things that got blocked from, somebody told them something, a parent, a teacher, a boss,
Mhm.
and they started to believe this different version of themselves to the point where they lost who they originally were. And they
Yeah.
start, like when I work with people, I help them remember this through their content and their professional achievements. But there are different versions of this, of how you work through this. But it's just it's remarkable that almost every single person that I've spoken to has had some version of that story. That
It's the alignment process.
Yeah.
It's understanding that you're born wired to live a life of alignment in a high vibration. You're actually born wired to tap into that quantum field. You're
Mhm,
born wired to do that. You do not, you learn the exact opposite when you start a formal education. A
mhm,
formal education in our society is it reveres, respects, and almost catapults a definition, a fear-based, ego-based definition of power, which is power over.
mhm,
And we trade on 5 different currencies in the world, throughout the world, 5 different currencies. We trade on looks, on physical strength, on authority, on money, and on intelligence. So when you're in school, you learn at a young age, what do I trade on so that I can belong. I can belong. So usually in school and in a formal education, at a young age, you learn to trade on either your looks or your athletic ability, your strength, or your intelligence. Do you
mhm,
get good grades? And you're rewarded for that, right? And they people seem to rise to the top by look at our social media influencers, all the women who spend their life taking pictures of themselves,
mhm,
right? That's their so influence in our society is power over. I don't
mhm.
teach power over. That is such an unaligned version of life because it's an empty way of living. We weren't put on this planet to have power over somebody else,
Yeah.
but that's the way our society operates. Unless you get like the 115 women that you've talked to, and all of us have discovered, no, I want to be powerful within and aligned, because the more aligned I am, the more powerful I can be out in the world and be of greater service.
Yeah.
And I get fulfilled in the process. I'm fulfilled in the process. And I love who I'm being. And I love the life that I'm creating. That's my work, right? So to activate more and more power, the more, the way the universe works is it's very efficient. Uh, and where life is not efficient, the universe is efficient. Let me explain that. Life is going to throw you a bunch of crap, right? It's just a lot of obstacles, a lot of, right? And then you have to figure out how to navigate that. The universe is very efficient, saying, look, if you move up into these high vibrations, I'm going to give you access to me, the collective consciousness. So I'm going to help you, actually move much faster on your path. And I'm going to give you access to this quantum field. And I'm going to give you access to higher guidance that has nothing to do with your brain. It bypasses your brain. And I'm going to give you access to a limitless abundance. That's efficient.
Mhm.
Working 50 times harder, not efficient. That's what we're taught in school. Work really, really hard to reach a goal. Wrong. It's the wrong equation.
Yep, we're definitely taught that.
Yes, we are.
Okay, well, we've gone for half an hour already. Um, I like to end these interviews with a wisdom bomb. So something small and actionable and meaningful that people can take with them.
Okay. Um, I'll give you the harmony exercise, because the harmony exercise, first of all, is a great exercise if you want greater connection to your higher guidance. If you want that connection to what's your complete truth, and I mean higher guidance about anything. Should I work with this person? Should I date this person? Should I take this job opportunity? Should I eat this piece of food? Okay, and anything, right? Is through the vibration of harmony. Because what harmony does, the vibration of harmony and resonance is saying, am I in harmony with this or not? And that it never lies. Your brain will lie to you all day long if it wants something that's in fear. Okay. You can't trust what your brain is saying unless you're in an aligned state. Okay. But harmony never lies. So if I said, am I in harmony, with Donna? The answer is, I'll know. You're going to check in with your internally and go, yes or no. Am I in harmony with this potential client that I'm talking to? And I know you could probably spend an hour talking about this, right? But how many times you've talked with somebody and they're saying all the right things and they could on paper look like a potential great client. And you're like, something's not right here. It's the harmony thing. You're like, your harmony meter is going, nope. So start practicing asking yourself the question every day, especially the important things. Is this in harmony with me? And if you're really being truthful for yourself, you're going to bypass that logical brain that wants something, that's attached to something, the having of something. Harmony will start putting you into a space of really being able to tune into your higher guidance. And your higher guidance will never, never steer you in the wrong direction.
Well, that is excellent advice. And it sounds like it's doable.
It is very doable. Yes.
So everybody, please connect with Debbie at debbielynngrace.com. And she's got lots of stuff to share. And I have gotten to know her pretty well over the last couple of months. And she's pretty nice to have in your life.
Thanks. Thanks, Hannah.
So connect with her. We will be back next week with another interview, and we're just going to keep going, sharing the wisdom. So thank you, Debbie. Thank you for spending some time today, and we'll be back next week.
All right. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.